everyone. Welcome to Spirit Road. I'm so happy you're joining us today. And today we have two of my favorite people in the entire world. Stephanie and Valorie are with us today, and we're going to have a fun conversation with them. Hey, Tim, glad you're
Hi
with us
there.
too.
Glad to be here. Yeah. How's
So,
everything?
where do we start today? You two do something called, I'm sorry, frequency,
Intention.
tone, and color. I could
Yes.
never
Yeah.
remember all the little words that go together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
We have been doing this class off and on for what probably, I want to say a year. I don't know if
oh
that's
yeah,
right or not, but it feels like it.
yeah.
And I I've always been fascinated by frequency and the effects that frequency has on us, on water, on, on everything. I mean, we are frequency, right? But being just absolutely overcome with the research of Dr. Emoto, and then also currently right now Veda Austin, and what she's discovering about water and frequency and all of this. It's just, I was like, well, what would happen if I got super intentional and started creating with alongside, like, frequency, because everything has color, or everything has frequency, even color, and um the smells and everything. So I set up the studio to just be high frequency, and then created in it. And what happened was magical, because when you create, just to begin with, it drops you into the heart space. And so for me, it felt like I was receiving more of that higher frequency as I created. And then I was able to get more information and receive more.
I
Yeah.
I have to say that the times I have been with you all for that class, which are fabulous, that the music you play, the frequency music that you have going in the background is amazing to me and puts me in places I don't even know where I'm at during those. And it's you wouldn't think coming through a computer it would be that intense, but intense, but it is. It's really
Mhm.
something.
That's one of the things that has impressed me and also just put me in a state of awe is energy. Like I say, I know energy is everywhere. I know it flows. It's not, stuck in the transmission just because we're using technology. But to experience it firsthand has been just mind blowing. I remember, and I think it was you, Laurie. We had one session where I was in studio with Stephanie. We both live in the same city, so I go over there and Stephanie had a particular essential oil going, which was high frequency. And without mentioning the name of it, just mentioning like this is how we set our space, we have incense oil and whatnot going on. We got through the whole session, and then you mentioned that
Mm,
you could actually smell that, and you are hundreds of miles away in Colorado. So that was just another confirmation for me that spirit truly works and there's no restrictions for energy flow and what people are able to receive and play with.
yeah. That was an amazing experience because I'm sitting here smelling this incense and I'm like, I don't have any incense in my house going at this point. And then it was like, oh, I'm smelling yours. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
wild. Yeah.
Well, and to back up for a second, so playing around in the studio, I didn't know if it was just me or not. So then I brought Valerie, and I'm like, hey, let's experiment. And I mean, and then when the two of us got together, it was like, whoa. And then we brought a group of people in to experiment with it, and it was Tim being one of them.
Mhm.
It's been an incredible journey, and I'm glad we're gonna team up and do more.
And I just want to say, as the only non-artist in this little group here, you don't have to be an artist to do this. So anyone who's watching, because I am far from an artist, and it's just amazing what comes through, even in my non-artistic way. I still end up with these amazing pictures that end up being painted or drawn.
Yeah, it's really more about the journey, isn't it? And color and
Absolutely.
movement and journaling, all of these things that can kind of feed in that. It's not really about the end result, but just kind of the discovery process. And having been there, I kind of already know this, but just want to ask the question, if like bringing the frequency and the color, and where does the intention come in? Like what does that mean?
I could go first, I guess. For me, it means like to be very intentional when you're setting the space. And then part of what Valorie will do when we're doing it together is she'll set the space also when we're all together and do a meditation, call in our teams to, sort of be in this to set the space. So for me, it's just about creating a very intentional space with color, sound, smell, pretty much anything that we can. Crystals. Yeah. So that's what I think of.
Yeah, the same. I would very much agree with that. The intention, I think, is mostly focused on the space. But for myself, I do a guided meditation oftentimes, or set my own personal intentions. And it can be as simple as I just want to sit in this higher frequency, higher vibration, and allow and absorb. Sometimes I go in with a more specific, I'm looking for answers.
Oops.
With it doesn't
Valerie, I'm going to pause you for a second.
We
But
kind of lost you.
we're getting some bandwidth. We were just talking about the retrograde before we started recording, but there's
And here it is.
some quirkiness going on. You're back with us now. Just wanted to pause, like we were losing for a second there. Yeah.
Yeah. So say a little more about your intention when you set it for yourself.
So sometimes it'll just be broad. I just want to sit in the energy and absorb and see what comes through and just feel that energy. And sometimes it'll be more specific. Maybe I'm looking for clarity or answers, or maybe I am intending to create a high vibrational art piece and I just want to be in that creative space. And so for me, no matter where my intentions fall, as long as I take the time to set the intention, spirit always comes through in that high vibe. Like I should do it more. Now that I talk about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I should do it more. I should sit in that vibration more because it's just so clear and so uplifted.
Yeah, I'm curious, kind of bringing it back to the beginning of the conversation too, Stephanie, I think you mentioned the hidden messages in water. I think Masuro Emoto, I'm not sure if I'm how does that kind of play into this idea? I mean, I know I have my own ideas, but just love to. Yeah.
Well, it just, for me, thinking about all the experiments he did, and if you don't know, look it up because it's incredible. Like he experimented with what intention and words had the effect they had on water and the frequency. And so he would write the word hate on some water and looked at it under a microscope to see how the crystalline structures were in the water versus love or I love you or thank you, things like that, higher vibrational words. And the crystalline structures were completely different. They were intact, they were beautiful, as opposed, and then when you think about the fact that we're all almost entirely water. And so even the water that I have in my studio for people when they're painting has the word love on it. And so it's charging with that frequency so that then you create with that frequency at the same time. So it just started me down a rabbit hole of, oh my God, if just the word love can change the molecules in water, what is a high frequency sound in song going to do to us personally, physically? Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Think about that a lot, just how much we are water, and if these frequencies can affect water in that way, how can they not affect us? Or even thinking about the pulling of the tides and the moons and all of those things, just recognizing, yeah, if the moon can bring in the tides in the way that it does, what's happening within us, what I know there are not many people that would argue that a full moon is a strange time of the month, you know, as far as things that happen in the world and things, you know, ERs and police stations, and it's all of that. It's like just it's interesting to think about how we are being subtly affected by these things, and then to be intentional about it and to bring in frequencies of healing or higher vibration or whatever that is, and then to create in that space when you're also in training to that is really, really interesting. Yeah.
Well, and to take and then you know we can move on, but I do want to mention Veda Austin's work because I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's basically taking his Dr. Emoto's information and bringing it a step further, and she's crystallizing, like flash freezing almost, water and realizing that water has consciousness. So like she'll put, let's say I put my crystal next to some water and then froze it with her technique, and I'm not exactly sure what that is. The water would then display in the ice crystals and everything a heart. And she's done it with many things, and there are people that are like learning from her and doing the same thing, and it's the same thing over and over and over again. You could put, you know, she did her signature once and it came up with her signature. Like it's as if it's the water is literally watching and looking at what is right next to it and then replicating it. And I get goosebumps thinking about it because it's changed my entire view on water. And yeah. And then when you think of that and then bring that back into us, and then, you know, it's just, it's mind blowing.
So what raises question comes up for me then is how many of us would it take to hold those intentions and beam that energy out, those thoughts out to the entire world? If we're mostly water and water takes on whatever it's, around or it's having beamed toward it intentionally, how could we shift the world? You
I
know?
think I think I mean I hadn't thought of it that way, but I think yeah, we could have massive influence.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a certain number that it would take for that to happen, that if we all held that same intention, beamed it out maybe to the oceans and then expanded it to everybody else, what the outcome would be. Huh. I don't know. Maybe
Definitely
another
worth
experiment.
experimenting. Yeah.
Exactly. Wow.
I mean, it's one of those experiences that has experiments that would have no negative side effects. I mean,
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And could potentially have a huge shift in
yeah,
consciousness on this planet.
definitely.
Well, and it makes me think about like kirtans, you know, with the call and response music from the East. Hinduism, they have it in that, and it's in Buddhism, I think, too,
Mhm.
and maybe others. But it's been such a powerful experience for me to be in a situation with a call and response song that's sacred, you know, in intention. I can't imagine what would happen if you did it around a body of water. Like, would the water magnify it? I don't know. That I now I have to think about doing it.
Yeah, I could share. So the Temple Buddhist Center here in Kansas City, down at Unity Temple on the Plaza, they have full moon celebrations, and they often will do dances of universal peace. And I've had the privilege of being one of the musicians that gets to play when they do the dances. And what they'll do is we'll set up in the middle of this circle, you know, guitar, mandolin, drums, flute, kind of in the very center of the circle. And then sometimes there can be as many as 50 to 100 people
Wow.
learning these dances and these chants and then they're moving around you, coming in and going out, and the music is in the center, and thinking about it in terms of frequency and vibration. And it is a really powerful experience to have that much the energy of joy and connection and love moving around you in that way. It's like I haven't thought about it in terms of like what's reacting in me that feels that way, but it's very tangible and powerful.
Ooh,
Yeah.
the next time you do that, take water, like big
Mhm.
pitchers of water, put it in the center with you, do that, and then have everybody take some home or drink it there before they leave. And then pay attention to what is it that they feel or any shifting that they notice happens with them within the next few hours. That could be very powerful.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
if you're infusing that water with that energy that's coming in, that frequency.
Mhm. Yeah, I love it. You
Yeah.
try it.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know. Find a lake, you guys.
I live,
Right? I was just thinking that we should have like a spiritual meet me at the lake kind of thing.
let's do it. Well, I would love that right down the street. And it needs it too. It's had some
Yeah,
serious
you do have a lake.
situations.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Maybe it would heal it and make it
I
better.
think it needs us. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be so cool.
Mm.
So then somebody has to take a camera and videotape it so that we can all see it and put it up on YouTube or something.
For sure.
Yeah. That would be very cool.
So a question for both of you, Valerie. I know you just came back from your event in Denver, and that went really well. And where is what's next for you all? Yeah.
Oh man, great question. Well, immediately next is a couple more trips back to Denver, planning the Kansas City event. I feel like that question is more difficult for me now because there's things that I want to energetically do next, but then there's also things on the calendar that are next. So things on the calendar that are next are pretty much my standard of events and traveling and all of that. Things energetically that are next that I'm really excited about is just expanding, and I'm being called back to more creative pursuits like my art and my sewing and essential oil blends and all of those things where I feel like I'm actually getting in and making something and creating something. So I'm excited to explore that some more too.
Mhm.
And you know, it's a plot here in Denver. We're just gradually easing you out here so that eventually you just move.
I
You're
know,
just settling
right?
here permanently.
It's like no.
And we'll have to clone you.
Yeah. One of these days in Kansas City, be like, didn't Valerie used to live here? Well, your paintings are amazing, and they're even better. Like I've noticed, you know, the ones you had at your event were just amazing to me.
Thank
So
you.
it's nice to know that you're kind of moving back into that.
Well, and
Yeah.
even bringing all the different art too. I loved that, Stephanie. I believe you had some of your paintings at Valerie's event as well, right?
Yes.
What are they called? The minis, the
The
freak.
little frequency minis. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Doing
Yeah.
sort of what we just talked about,
uh-huh.
bringing
Yeah.
frequency in it very intentionally. Yeah. So that's one of the things I want to do. Like as things start to, as the winter starts to come in, I always wanted to start creating more and doing projects. So kind of like Valerie, like I'm looking forward to making more in the studio.
Mhm.
And I love the work that's happening with Creative Nectar, which is something that has my heart. Being a co-founder, obviously, but also just seeing a community form and just being so excited that that's happening. And because I really do believe that creativity is a huge like step into sort of the new frequency of the new worlds
Mhm.
that I want to see. So I'm excited to hear and to know that people are interested in like lighting that creative spark.
Well, I know we've talked about it before, or at least I've mentioned it in some of our discussion groups, but I really love the wall behind you, in a sense, like what that represents, because every one of those lines is the edge of where you had some piece of art hanging at some point, right? And that's just where you painted over and some of it got on the wall, but like, so that's what, well,
It's
like hundreds of hours worth of.
it's both from me and from people who've come into the studio.
Sure.
We would put up white pieces of paper and then paint. And yeah, the one behind me right here, when you look at it, it starts to look like a portal. That
Mhm.
happened to
Yes.
me the other day and I just got lost in it. But yeah, it is hours and you can feel the vibrancy of of people who have settled into their hearts and created in this space.
Well, and there's some kind of energetic metaphor and all of that too, just that idea that how that represents so much time and different people and different points and emotions and things they were working with, how there's just this imprint that gets left by that effort, and over time that kind of becomes a work of art in and of itself. Yeah, I just really love that.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you all here.
Yeah. Love
I
talking to you guys.
yeah, we're just in that traditional wrapping up kinds of things. Where can folks find out more about what you're doing?
For me, it would just be my website, which is Steph Gray Art, STEPHGRAY art.com, or creativenectarstudio.com. And pretty much all my stuff is there, or on Awkwardly Zen. I'm a partner there as well. And I'm hoping that Valorie and I will get a class together here in the next month or two. It may be a one-off, but I think I'm excited about it, and we'll make sure to have that on our website, on my website.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
How about you, Valorie?
And you can find me on my website, goddesswithanAttitude.com. I'm also on the Awkwardly Zen site as an Awkwardly Zen partner. You have to go all the way down to the bottom because it's alphabetical. Or you can reach me by email, goddesswithanAttitudeKC@gmail.com.
Okay. What about you, Laurie?
What about, Awkwardly Zen, I think,
Yeah.
is probably where you can find me on the partner page. So yeah, definitely.
Great.
Yeah.
What about you,
That's-
Tim?
Yeah. What about you? You have some news. You are
Yes.
now a certified hypnotherapist, right?
Well, a certified master hypnotist as of last Wednesday. And really what that means is I'm working toward becoming a certified hypnotherapist, but I am now in the second half of my program, which is almost like a work study or an internship. And that's kind of working more toward the therapeutic side of things. But yeah, it's been a really wonderful journey, and looking forward to practicing in community and having offerings of my own, which is something I have traditionally not had. So looking forward to moving more into a practitioner role. And certainly I have the partners page on awkwardlyzen.com as well. And we'll hopefully be changing that up soon to reflect that. So yeah, I'm excited.
That's very exciting. And he's really good.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, that part.
For real.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
Yep,
you.
for sure. It's so lovely to see you ladies and have you join us.
Thanks
It's
for
always
having me.
fun hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, same. Thank you so much, guys. Glad you have this platform.